Greetings everyone and welcome to the most hated S-Class in the world. W220 is the least desirable S-Class among Mercedes lovers. It was uglier, smaller and less powerful than previous W140. Nevertheless, it had the most glorious achievements and most iconic moments in automotive industry. And during its life, it made journey from slow snail into the fastest production sedan in the world. And still it was not as loved as other S-Class models. Big question that I will try to answer today is it really that bad? Mercedes sold almost 80,000 more W220s than W140s. W220 was more aerodynamic, more advanced in every possible way than any competitor when it came out. Design of W220 was the most shocking feature about this car. After huge and brutal W140s, small soap-shaped W220 was not expected. This shape was very controversial and was created not in very Mercedes way. After $1 billion and almost no significant profit from W140, Mercedes decided to copy Lexus' business model. Because small, shy and not truly luxurious Lexus LS outsold any German sedan in the US with significant gap. And margins on Lexus LS were also very good. So Mercedes decided to make new S-Class smaller, cheaper, less massive and more stylish than square, huge and without extra weight W140. Concept of W220 was introduced to general public in 1996 in a very weird car from the future called F200. It had joystick instead of steering wheel and cameras instead of rear view mirrors. This car had so many features that the next 20 years Mercedes used some of those features from that car in their future cars. Front of W220 was much more aerodynamic than any competitor, except of the wider, taller and fatter Lexus XF30, the new model. W220 had drag coefficient of 0.27 and the Lexus XF30 that came a little bit later had astonishingly low 0.25. Huge egg-shaped headlights that were very familiar to Porsche 911 996 were very controversial and no one liked them. Front grille and front bumper looked nice and everything except huge headlights were not so bad. During design process of W220, Mercedes engineers were working on the front from W210. They wanted to put W210 into the S-Class, but then Mercedes decided to make W210 front into the E-Class and not do it into the S-Class. Side of the car is the most beautiful part of the design. It is silky, smooth and very low to the ground. Car looks planted and very balanced. Design at the back is nice and simple, there is no complicated lines and any insane design features. Everything is pleasant to look at and not annoying at all. In general, design was a huge leap from square-shaped body to a soap-shaped design. And for Mercedes lovers that got used to heavy luxury, this transition was not smooth. As usual, Mercedes proudly claimed that they have breakthrough technology in their new S-Class that will change automotive world, and they also claim that no other car has them. Those features were air suspension and adjustable dampings that Chrysler used in the 50s and Range Rover used in the 80s. Also, their new cylinder cutoff system in their V8 engines for better fuel efficiency. This system was used for decades in GM and Mitsubishi cars. Their groundbreaking GPS system that already was in regular Japanese sedans in the 80s, and also high-speed level suspension that was on W220 was also in the Citroën almost 50 years earlier. Everything that Mercedes claimed to be new and original was already made by other companies. Interior became more Japanese than German. You can feel that Germans tried to adopt Lexus LS features in their new S-Class. And car became more E-Class than S-Class compared to W140. In all my reviews of W211, I always say that W211 has better interior than the W210. Nevertheless, W220 had more space inside and was not as cozy as W140. In terms of space, W220 destroyed W140. It was smaller outside, but much bigger inside than W140. Space at the back, at the front, this car was overall spacious. On the other hand, interior materials were worse. This interior could be way better. When you sit in W220, you feel that something is missing. Again, when you compare this interior to W211, you feel ripped off, because W211 had the more luxurious interior than W220. It was more cozy and had better materials, it was more exciting to sit in and felt more desirable. Minimalistic style of W220 did not get many fans, and many S-Class lovers were disappointed in the lack of luxury and expensive materials in the W220 interior. But compared to BMW, it had more user-friendly interior. Lexus tried to compete with Mercedes and almost came to the same level, but Mercedes had better interior than Lexus. Seats of W220 looked smaller, but they were magnificent. Same structure of the seats was used in the C-Class and E-Class, and in all of them seats were marvelous. S-Class had heated, ventilated and massage seats. When you look at the dashboard, you see the endless amount of buttons on it. Mercedes tried to limit amount of buttons, and you can see that they tried to locate them as far as possible from each other to trick your eyes, but quantity of buttons is huge. New dashboard had more logical location of screen control and other features than in W140. To be honest, in W140 everything was a little mess, not in one side, and but you got used to it really fast. Voice activation system never worked properly, but was a very cool feature to show everybody how successful you are and how hopeless system is. This system was the same level of hopeless as irresponsible father that lets your daughter drink all she wants in different clubs, and then he will act all angry and surprised when she made him young grandfather many times. Compared to W140, interior of W220 did not feel as luxurious as it could be, but compared to today's car, W220 interior feels like a royal castle on wheels. It is the best interior for its money because W211 is usually more expensive than W220. You got thick leather that smells of luxury and can cope with people that have 95-pound moles attached to their butts. The leather does not stretch if it's taken care of very good, and interior doesn't break. Seats feel like new. At the back you do feel extra legroom at any position. And the seats are so good that you feel like you're sitting in a football field. Everything is simple and usable. And well-kept interior of W220 is a very real treat today. Comfort of W220 depends on previous owners and on how deep are your pockets. When everything works perfectly, car is soft and handles very good, much better than W140. But if some rubber piece in the suspension will be dry or springs will be too old, it will dramatically lose its magical qualities and turn into a 2-ton disappointment on wheels. Unlike W140, it does require much more investments into suspension. For example, in W140 you have suspension that does not need so much maintenance, and if something goes wrong, it will still deliver the great ride, maybe with some extra noise, but the ride will be soft. But in W220, this ride will be a ruin until you will fix everything. When you fix everything, then you will get the wonderful ride. Under hood, W220 had some nice V6 and V8 engines that are very reliable if they are properly maintained, but their V12 engines changed the direction of automotive history. First V12 that W220 had was pathetic. It had less dignity than simp that spends all his money on OnlyFans. It was naturally aspirated 5.8-liter V12 that developed only 367 brake horsepower. W140 6-liter V12 developed 401 brake horsepower in 1991. Some say that the new 5-speed gearbox helped W220 to be faster than W140. But official numbers showed that W140 was faster. After the horrible V12 was introduced, many Mercedes lovers had huge question in their mind. Why new Mercedes S-Class is slower than old S-Class? And there were some popular theories on that topic. First one, that Mercedes wanted to make W220 more affordable and more accessible to common people, like Lexus did, and Maybach would be for ultra-luxury buyers. So this is one of the theories why the W220 was slower than W140. After 3 years, Mercedes did change their tactics, and Mercedes introduced brand new V12 with even less displacement, 5.5-liter V12, but now it had two turbos, and with the help of AMG it developed 510 brake horsepower and 830 Nm of torque. It had twin sparks per cylinder and 3 valves per cylinder, reinforced aluminum engine block, bigger radiators and improved cooling, and huge fuel pump. Thanks to AMG engineers, 0 to 100 was in just 4.5 seconds. What was really shocking is 100 km to 200 km time. It was only in 15 seconds. The new E66 BMW 7 Series lost catastrophically to Mercedes. BMW did 0 to 100 in 5.8 seconds, and 100 to 200 kilometers was 5 seconds slower compared to W220. S-Class humiliated 7 Series. S600 could destroy not only 7 Series BMW, but any BMW at that time. Let's compare it to the M3 E46. 0 to 100 was in 5.1 seconds and 0 to 200 was in 18.8 seconds. That was 4 seconds slower than the S600. It would even destroy the most famous BMW M5 E39. 0 to 100 was in 5.2 seconds and 0 to 200 was in 18.3 seconds, which is again significantly slower than W220 S600. Even the fastest Z8, that's unfortunately forgotten today, with 5-liter V8 that had 400 brake horsepower, could achieve 0 to 100 in 4.7 seconds and 0 to 200 in 16.2 seconds, and still Mercedes was faster. Fastest Audi A8 in a new body D3 that had 6-liter W12 engine with 450 brake horsepower was also slower than the W220 S600. Even the legendary RS was slower than S600, and Audi couldn't do anything. The most shocking part of this comparison is that even new M3 E39 with the V8 engine that made 420 brake horsepower was slower than the old S600. And now, my friends, the most shocking comparison. The brand new BMW E60 M5 with 5-liter V10 had 0 to 100 time in 4.7 seconds, and S600 was faster. It was even faster in the quarter mile. Not much, only by 0.3 seconds, but anyway, it's a huge achievement. No one expected 4-door, long, heavy business sedan to be so ruthless. Even brand new Ferrari F430 had problems with W220 S600 because they had the same time at quarter mile. Audi tried to destroy S600 with their new Audi R8 supercar, and they almost did this, but still W220 was faster in 0 to 200 kilometers time. And I'm not even talking about the S65 V12 AMG version, it's just the standard S600. All that power was very safe, because safety was very important in W220. W220 was more stable, more agile in the corners, had better brakes, better cooling, bumpers could cope with accidents not faster than 4 kilometers, and after accidents, body was easier to repair and less expensive than W140. Today, poorly maintained W220 has more problems than divorced man that had 4 baby mamas and all kids hate him. Do not buy this car without service history. Do not even think about buying this car without service history. Do not even look at it. Reliability of W220 solely depends on previous owners. So read that service report as your last prayer before dying. Pay attention to the engine mount and transmission mount, oil leaks from engines and transmission. The air suspension will always have problems, so it's better to change air suspension not to the factory parts but from the outside manufacturers that give 10 years warranty on them. ABC suspension always will leak, and many of them need a proper rebuild. Engines are reliable if they were taken care of. Good petrol, proper oil change are essential for long life of these engines. If you see blue smoke coming out of exhaust, turn around and leave this car. Just don't even say goodbye to the owner when you buy this car. It means that cylinder walls are scratched and car consumes oil more than corrupt police officer consumes alcohol during his patrol. Radiators must be cleaned every 50-60,000 kilometers, so also change the antifreeze every 60-50,000 kilometers. If you do that, you will avoid overheating. 5-speed transmission is very reliable, but it needs oil change every 60-70,000 kilometers. If you do not change oil in the transmission, it will last for 300,000 kilometers, if car was driven peacefully. And please don't forget that this car is more than 20 years old. So if you find W220 in great condition, something will go wrong with it. So you must keep some cash in your safe for a rainy day. Even with all those potential issues, I do recommend for you to buy this car. V8s are the most reliable and fun to drive. V12s are also great, but you will spend a lot of money on maintenance. If you are ready for big checks, buy V12 twin turbo. Do not even consider 5.8 liter V12 because there is no point of it. If you will find proper W220, it will deliver you great drive, luxury feel and true enjoyment every time you accelerate. Personally, I prefer W140, but today W220 is a good used luxury sedan for people who appreciate old German luxury from 2000s, because interior is much better than in modern cars, the smell is good, and if you find like AMG version or a V8 or a V12, sound, acceleration, everything is very exciting. Again, if you want to buy it, you must understand that someday something will go wrong and you will spend money on it. But before this day comes, you will drive it and you will be happy. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what is your opinion on W220. Take care and bye bye.